The biggest misconception that I see people having when it comes to thinking about their mission and their soul's purpose is thinking that your mission is something in the future. There is this hidden letter that has been written by the stars that's buried underneath some treasure chest that you have to go on this expedition to find. And then you're going to find this treasure chest and then you're going to open it and then you're going to know your mission and then you're going to start doing your mission. Your soul's purpose is not something that is in the future. Your soul's purpose is the way that you show up today. It is your most authentic expression. I just got out of a 90-minute session with a client where we went from her expressing at the beginning of our session, I have no idea what my mission is. I don't know what my purpose is. Then we went through a forensic activity to excavate some expressions of the mission that already exists in her expression in the world. And by the end of it, she was able to say, I have so much clarity on who I'm here to be. This was after 90 seconds. Not 90 seconds, 90 minutes. Ooh, it would be nice if it could be 90 seconds. Okay. In the next 10 or 15 minutes or so, I'm going to walk you through the steps that I took her through to get clear on her soul's purpose. Now, I want you to understand that this is a very abridged version. And so if you need support afterwards, please feel free to connect with me at the links that will be at the bottom of this video. And also remember to subscribe. The first thing that you're going to need to do, we're going to do this in 5 steps. The first step is going to be a meditation that I'm going to share with you. This is a 15-minute meditation that I use with my high ticket clients who come to me to practice working on speaking from a soul place. So these are my public speaking clients who I work with to help them become more confident in how they show up in every space of their life as change makers and cycle breakers. This meditation is going to be in the description box below, and you're going to get it free. Go and listen to that meditation. Make sure that you're in a calm, relaxed, comfortable place. I know that sometimes we come onto YouTube and we look for these very quick fix ways to do things, and this is quick. This process can be as quick as 90 minutes if you are approaching it from that centered, mindful place, okay? It can be shorter, it can be longer, but make sure that more than anything, you are truly dedicated to aligning with your core mission. And at the end of it, we're going to have a core message that you can use to continue to guide your confident expression in the world. Because the thing is, you are already showing up in your mission. We just want you to show up in your mission with more confidence. So go look for that meditation, listen to it, and come back. Now, for those of you who don't know me, and before we get into the next 4 steps of this 5-step process, I am Cherise La-Vonne. I am a public speaking, communication, and confidence coach for change makers, people who identify as cycle breakers, who want to influence this world, whether it is their family, their community, their workplace, or the public at large. They want to influence the world in a way that means a better world for all of us. And if you are watching this up to this point, or if you have been following me, it's likely that you have that passion. This is not a place for people who do not give a fuck about what happens in the world and how they show up in the world. This is a place for people who are extremely intentional about their being and how they be, and how their being influences everything around them. You as a change maker understand that energy is everything. You understand that the energy you embody has a radiating effect on the world around you. You understand that you are a co-creator of your reality. And so you're here because you want to get more confident in creating that reality through self-communication and also communication with the people around you. Okay, now that you've listened to the meditation, now that we've remembered a little bit about who we are and why we're here, let's go into step 2 of getting clear on your soul purpose, and mission, and we're going to come up with a core message by the end of this process. The second step is to highlight the word that came up to you when you did that meditation. So if you didn't do your homework, you're going to be a little bit lost right here. But when you did that meditation, at the end of the meditation, I asked you to highlight a specific word, or maybe there was a phrase or a couple of words that came up. These are the words that you felt coming out of your chest as you related to the people in this future version of yourself. Those words, take your pen and paper, write it down. Take a few minutes, pause this video, and just write the word or a list of words, and also journal any revelations that came up to you at the end of the meditation. Pause the video, do that now. So that was step 2, identifying the words from your meditation result. Step 3 is getting clear on your zones of communication. What do I mean when I talk about your communication zones? I'm talking about the place where you normally have interchange and exchange with people. We're going to think about this in 4 categories. We're going to think about interpersonal, work, personal, and public. I'm going to give you an example of my communication zones so that you can follow along and let me know what are yours. In my interpersonal realm, the communication zones, the places that I have the biggest communication exchanges are with my best friend. I also have a lot of communication exchanges with my bandmates because I'm in a band. And I also have a lot of communication exchanges with my neighbors, my landlords. We can keep it to 3, right? Moving on. In the work zone, what are the communication zones that you have? Who are you communicating with the most? In my work zone, they are my clients. They are mostly my clients. They are you on YouTube. And there are also people who I meet and who say, hey, what do you do for a living? Even though I live for a living, I don't work for a living, but that's a whole nother story. Third zone, self. How do you talk to yourself? And what are you talking to yourself often about? For me, I'm often talking to myself about my health. I'm often talking to myself about how I show up in relationships. I'm often talking to myself about my spirituality. What are the things that you are often talking to yourself about, the inner dialogues that you have? I also often talk to this idea of my inner child and my emotional self quite often. And in the 4th communication zone that I want you to identify where you currently communicate the most, this may be stuff like community spaces, it may be church if you go to church, it may be clubs, it may be networking events. For me, my communication zones that are more public, YouTube would be one. When I'm on stage, performing as a singer is another. And I would say for now, that's where I'm at. Oh, I also am in a sisterhood, like a woman sisterhood group, and I have a yoga studio that I go to very regularly. So these are some of the more community spaces that I show up in. Okay, so that was our 3rd step, identifying your communication zones. You may take a pause right now, pause the video, and write down in your interpersonal, in your work, in yourself, and in your public spaces, what are you most often communicating? Who are you most often communicating with? Okay. In the self, it's going to be more, what are you most communicating about to yourself? So pause the video. Let's get into that. Okay. That was step 3. Step 4 is within these zones of communication, what is the influence that you already have? So let's reflect on step 1. Well, step 2, the meditation result, that word that you came up with or that phrase that you came up with. In what ways do you embody or apply that word or that phrase in each of these zones? This one might take you a little bit more time, but I'll give you an example again. So for me, in the interpersonal realm, I said that I show up I relate mostly to my best friend. And I didn't share this, but when I do the meditation result, the last time I did that meditation, the words that came up for me were authenticity and freedom. In the space with my best friend, I embody authenticity and freedom in the conversations that we have. We are often having conversations about decolonization, how as previously colonized people, because we both have Caribbean backgrounds, how as previously colonized people, we can reconnect with a more indigenous way of existing. That's how authenticity and freedom shows up in that communication zone. In my work zone, working with clients, I think it's pretty obvious just based on what I'm talking to you right now about. But authenticity and freedom shows up in the fact that I encourage my clients to get very clear on who they are on a deep soul level so that they can reflect that authentically out into the world. In the zone related to myself, I brought up stuff like my spirituality and my personal development. In this zone, authenticity and freedom often comes up with my considerations of what it means to stand in my full power as a woman and to reclaim the power of being a woman, including but not limited to the power of connecting to my menstrual cycle and aligning more with the rhythms of nature and aligning with the rhythms of the moon and allowing nature to influence the way I ebb and flow. So that's how authenticity and freedom shows up in that zone for me. And then in the public communication zone, I'm actually going to bring up the menstrual cycle as well, because one of the ways that I tend to show up authentically in public communication zones is I don't shy away from referencing my cycle. In fact, I normalize referencing my cycle. Maybe I have to miss a band practice because I'm premenstrual. And for me, when I'm premenstrual, it's an extremely sacred time when I get to connect with my inner world and really process all that had happened in the last 4 week cycle, allow myself to very much decide with intention what I'm releasing with the blood that is literally coming out of my body, what I am returning to the earth. I may not say that directly to my bandmates when I need to skip practice, but I will say something to the effect of, I'm in that part of my cycle where I need to honor my body's need for rest, and so I won't be able to make it to practice today. These are ways that I show up in my influence in the communication zones that I highlighted. So now it's your turn. Again, pause this video, highlight at least one of the different communication zones per section. So interpersonal, work, personal, and community or public, and get a little bit more detailed about how the essence of what you got from that meditation word, whatever that word was for you, how the essence of that shows up in each of these spaces. Okay? Pause the video now and do that. Now that you've done that, we are gonna take all of these zones of influence and we're gonna look a little bit at the general themes that come up. Okay. So based on everything that you just journaled, I want you to identify top 3 themes that emerged when you were considering your influence. We're going to use this to craft your core message, which is going to be very supportive for you as you continue to show up in your mission, but this time with confidence. Because as I said, you are already showing up in your purpose. You are already showing up in your mission. We just want you to have the confidence that amplifies that energy for it to be even more effective. So when I say identify the top 3 themes that emerged from this zone of influence exercise, I'm going to give you an example. For me, the top 3 themes that emerged from what I just shared with you have to do with women returning to their power, decolonization, and creative expression, right? Those are some of those are three themes that I could see coming there out of what I just shared with you. Once you've gotten those three themes, so if you need to pause the video right now and take a moment to kind of review what you wrote and get those three themes, however you want to phrase them, you can try to summarize them as much as possible. We will have an opportunity to expand on them. So pause the video now, do that. Good. Now, let's get to the final step. I'm really trying to get a lot of information into these 10, 15 minutes. So I hope that you are getting a lot of value out of it. Again, if you have questions at the end of this, you can reach out to me using the links that are in the description box below. So now we've come to the final part of getting even more clarity on your soul's purpose. Again, that's already running in you. And at this point, we're going to craft what I call a core message. Now, what the core message is it's more of a guide for you than anything else when your mind needs reminding of who you are and what you're here to do. And it's going to be helpful for you in your communication, whether it is that you have to write a speech or just in your everyday communication, conversations with friends, if you have to give a presentation. It's going to be basically a guide that helps you to have more confidence. Why? Because you're going to have more clarity on the essence of what you want to communicate and also how you want to influence people. Before we go into the core message, there's a key concept that I want to share here. And it's a concept that I ask my clients to adopt or to at least play with while we're working together. The concept is that I am not simply a human just doing random human shit. The idea is that there is a spiritual being that is here informing the way Charisse shows up in the world. We call her Charisse, but really it's a fragment of spirit that we all are. And this fragment of spirit has the desire to influence the world in a very specific way. You know, there are esoteric teachings that say we are all just fractals of God experiencing itself with each other. And I am of that belief. And being of that belief, I think I am most in attunement with the nature of God itself and the nature of life itself when I can embody what this particular fractal is meant to embody. Why do I bring that up? Knowing your soul's purpose isn't just about, oh, I have to now go on a TED conference and give a speech, or oh, I now have to build this big nonprofit organization to give to be able to actually be in my purpose. No, 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 no. Knowing your soul's purpose is about how do I show up every day in every interaction, influencing every person and being that comes in contact with me. Like I shared with you earlier, the way I might cancel on a rehearsal because I am wanting to honor the rhythm of my feminine structure, even though the world doesn't really work on that rhythm, for me is very intentional. I don't have to tell people I'm on my period, but it's extremely intentional for me because I know that my soul is here to encourage people to live more authentically. And I believe that as humans, if we honor our natural rhythms, then we get closer to our authenticity. And so it's very intentional for me. Now let's get into crafting your core message, aka your summary of your soul purpose here. All right. As I said, this is going to help you as a guide for your communication. It's going to help you with speaking with clarity and purpose, whether it's preparing a speech, having a conversation, making a presentation. Your core message helps to guide you since you're now clear on the essence and the influence that you want to communicate. I'm going to give you a format to create the core message. Write it down, pause the video as much as you need to. And this format is based again on that meditation word, that result you got from the meditation that you would have done at the beginning of this video. And again, the link for that is in the chat description below. Here's the format. Follow along. I, your name, show up in the world as A, and this is where you introduce that meditation word. So for me, it would be I, Cherise La-Vonne, show up in the world as an authenticity activator and freedom fighter. Next sentence. I am passionate about, and this is where you're going to list the 3 themes that came up from the zone of influence exercise step that we just completed. So I am passionate about, for me, it would be, I am passionate about decolonization, about women returning to their power, and about creative expression. Okay, so at this point, you should have something that says, I am, your name, show up in the world as a, whatever version of the meditation word result you got, and I am passionate about the zone of influence 1, zone of influence 2, zone of influence 3. Got it? Super. Now let's break that down a little bit more. When it comes to zone of influence 1, for me, when it comes to decolonization, I influence through, and then you're going to talk about how you embody that and how that shows up in your life. So I influence through having conversations with my best friend about how we can return to Indigenous ways. I influence through exploring the Indigenous practices that I have the privilege of experiencing because I am based in Mexico. That's the first one. When it comes to decolonization, I influence through having conversations with my best friend about how we can reconnect with Indigenous practices, exploring the Indigenous practices that I have the privilege of experiencing in Mexico, etc., etc. We're going to repeat these for the next ones. When it comes to zone of influence 2, I influence through how do you show up? How do you influence through that particular way of being? For me, the second one was creative expression. I influence through showing up unapologetically as an artist who doesn't need to fit into a particular box. I am a poet, I am a singer, I am a dancer, I am an actress, I am a model, and I'm also a coach. And that creative expression I allow to just flow as it flows without feeling a need to overly brand myself. Move on to the next one. When it comes to zone of influence 3, I influence through, and you talk about how you influence or how you show up in that space. The third one for me was when it comes to women standing in their power, I influence through being in attunement with my own feminine cycle and designing my life around that, continuing to research the best ways to show up at every phase in my cycle for efficiency, and also communicating very clearly where I am in my cycle with the people around me, as is relevant. Not everybody have to know your business, right? So that is a format that you will use to create a core message based on the zones of influence and a meditation word that we came up with before. At this point, you have a summary of how your soul has already shown you that it wants to show up in your world, in this world, aka your mission. So congrats, you're clear. I'm not so sure how long this video has been going, but in a couple of minutes, you probably went from I'm not really sure what my purpose is to looking at how you already show up in life and being able to have that clearly. How are you going to utilize this core message going forward? Read it, review it, tweak it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's okay if it's a little messy. In fact, the core message that I prepared when I did this exercise a year ago for a free workshop, an online workshop I was doing, has shifted because things shift. But how you're going to use this is for you, it's just an awareness. It's an awareness that makes you feel more confident when you bring up conversations or bring up themes that people didn't really ask you about, but you know that, hey, this is what I'm here to communicate. So I'm going to test the waters and talk about this a little bit. When you connect these important ideas to what may seem like basic things in work conversations or conversations with friends, this is going to support you in embodying exactly who you are here to be. And once you are clear on that and you're able to embody that, everything flows smoothly from there. If you enjoyed this video and you found it helpful, please give me a thumbs up, please subscribe, and please share with a friend. It is very helpful to me and I really do appreciate it. I am here to support you as a change maker. If you want further coaching, you can find out how to do that with me in the description box below. Until next time, I am signing out. Hasta luego. Bye.